Hey there, this is Peter. Have you ever heard of the term dumb solid? Typically that's a file that's been imported that was originally a step or an IGES or maybe another solid file. Well, that's a type of file that doesn't have any intelligence in its design tree. It's not made up of features. It's typically made up of like a solid body feature. Well, a lot of times when you have something like that, you're not able to manipulate it. Maybe I need to flip this flange on the other side, or maybe this hole needs to be deleted. Well, guess what? There are ways to do that. I know, it's a little secret, but guess what? It is a pretty cool setup to be able to do in SOLIDWORKS to manipulate a file to work in a design intent that you have. So go get your favorite cup of coffee as we enjoy this Take a Break with Valley CAD. I'll see you guys in SOLIDWORKS in a click. Hey there, welcome to SOLIDWORKS. So we're working with this imported geometry, and how do I know it's imported? Well, if I look at my design tree, it says imported 1. This is where I come up with the term of a dumb solid. There's no intelligence to this part. It just has a simple blob. So it doesn't have any features that make up this part file. So you're not able to come in and modify it at all. But like I said, you're gonna learn a little secret about how to modify this guy. So let's say we want to come in and I want to get rid of this fillet here. I also want to get rid of this hole, but I want this hole to show up on this side, and I want that hole to be in the same location as if it is from this top edge. Also, what I want to do is flip this leg and this leg to show up on this side, and I want that leg to be pointing up instead of down. And also, if we notice here, this leg is a little bit thinner than this side over here. So we're going to utilize some features here. We're going to start off with some surface modeling because I want to get rid of this hole, but also I want to get rid of this fillet, and I want to make it so that it's going to grow to a 1/2 inch radius. Right now it's at 1/4 inch, so this is why we're going to delete it. And also, since I'm going to be moving this face to the other side, I won't have anything to fill it to anymore, right? So we're going to come up to our surfaces command here. So surfaces tab and all the commands for it, if you're not familiar with surfaces, get familiar with them. Plain and simple. Awesome set of tools. It is a whole different way of working in SOLIDWORKS, but for when it comes into imported geometry, surface modeling tools are your best friends. So what we're going to utilize is a feature called delete face. With delete face activated, you have 3 different options. You have simple delete, you also have delete and patch, and delete and fill. With delete and fill, you can actually come in and see the preview of what's going to happen prior to getting out. So I accidentally had this face selected prior. I'm just going to simply delete that. And I want to make it so I'm going to delete this fillet here. So I just want to make it so it's deleted and come to a sharp corner instead. And that's where this delete and patch will come in. If I did simple delete, it's going to delete that fillet, but I'm going to have a void there now. And this will now become a surface body. So we're going to say delete and patch and click the green check mark on that. Done. Now that we have that set up, what I want to do next is actually move this bottom set of legs to the other side. How we're going to utilize that is using our split command. So you'll see under my features command tabs here that I have the split command showing up on the far right of my screen. You might not have this since you might not have heard of split command yet. I added these features to my command manager across the top. To utilize the search for commands function, push the letter W on your keyboard. And you'll see here in my top right corner, it shows a little black square and it says the word move next to it. If you type in the word split, that'll actually show you the split command. You could click on it to activate it. But if you want to add this to your command manager across the top, simply click and drag and let go. Now, if you accidentally did duplicate this, hold down Alt, click and drag off. You'll see that red square show up with a white X. Let go, and it's all gone. That's just getting rid of the shortcut button there. All right, so now what we want to do is activate that split command. So activating it here, you'll see here under my message, it's saying, hey, either select a sketch, a plane, or surface, and what it'll do is it'll split up one body into multiple bodies. So in this scenario, I'm going to click on that face there. If I right click, SOLIDWORKS actually moved down to, hey, what's your resulting bodies? So I want these 2 bodies here. So you need to check mark this. And that way SOLIDWORKS will come in and say, okay, we're going to accept these 2 bodies here and be done with it. Cool. So now I know we are working with two separate bodies because my design tree shows a bodies folder and it says split 3 and it shows 1 and 2 there for me. Cool. So now what we want to do is we want to move this body, split number 2, I want to move it to the other side and also flip it over. So what we're going to utilize is the move copy body. So once again, I added this to my command manager across the top. You just simply come up to the search command, add it if you want to. So move copy bodies. How this works is you want to specify a body to be moved. That's why we split this up into separate bodies. So in this scenario, I want this one here, and I'm going to simply right click so I can move into my next selection box. So you'll see I have mate settings here. You might have it set up under translate and rotate. That's being able to just come in and move things around. I like using constraints more. I probably use about 80% of the time when I'm using move copy bodies. There are times for the translate rotate, but majority of the time I do use the mate functionality. So think of this as if you're working in an assembly now, except you're working in a part, but the same scenario of using mates here. So what I want to do is come in and use this face, and actually let's not use that one. Let's use this face and this face here, and I'm going to say flip my mate alignment and say add to that. Then from there, I want to make it so that this face and that face are connected to each other, and my mate alignment looks okay. Actually, no, I don't want that one, do I? I want to make it so that this face, let's see here. I want to make it so that, yeah, this face and this face are connected to each other, and say add to that as well. Now, as we look at this, you're going, okay, that looks interesting, but your tab is still pointing down. Isn't there a way that we can make it so it'll go up? There actually is. So check this out. I don't want that face. So I just simply right click and delete it, just like that. So what I'm going to do is simply click on this face, this one here, and that face there. And then I'm going to flip my mate alignment like so. Now as we look at this, you'll see that, hey, it's starting to look like it should. And we simply say okay to that. And we're done. I don't need to worry about doing that final mate there because in a part file move copy bodies, it's not just going to float out in space. So we put in enough variables on it to tell it to locate in the right location. All right, so now we got it moved and everything. What we need to do next is combine these back into one body. So SOLIDWORKS has a really cool feature called the combine tool. With that selected, you have 3 variations. You could add, subtract, or comment. In this scenario, we want to add. So we want to add 2 separate bodies to make one body in the end. So we're going to click here and here, simply right click, and now I have one body. I can see that because my solid bodies folder shows 1 now. Also, if you didn't notice it, I'm going to use my rollback bar. You'll see a little edge showing up here, and also if I click on this face, see how it translates all the way through. So when I take my combine, you'll see that that little edge goes away, and also you see that this face terminates there as well. Cool. So now we got that set up. What we need to do next is I want to show that hole on this side here. So I'm going to simply click on this face, and we're going to come up to extruded cut. What I want to do is convert the entities of this hole onto this face. So convert entities is one of my favorite sketching tools. It's where you can really speed up your modeling process, and I'm trying to coin the term of don't model for SOLIDWORKS, let SOLIDWORKS model for you. You already came in with rules. I don't need to come in and make new rules. So what we're going to do is have this sketch here, this circle I should say, project onto this face. So SOLIDWORKS has under your sketch command a convert entities. With that selected, because I had that circle pre-selected, it just projects that profile onto that face. From there, say okay to that, and we're just gonna say, hey, cut up to next. So it's gonna go up to this face here, and we say okay to that. So now we have that hole lined up perfectly to the existing hole. But I need to get rid of this hole. So there's a reason why I did that hole, this one on this side, prior to deleting it. Because that way I didn't have to come up with some new math, because I don't know what math was used prior to this. Now I got that hole set up, I'm going to come up under my surfaces. I'm going to say delete face again. And in this scenario, I'm going to show you delete first. And we're just going to say delete and say okay to that. You'll notice here that with my delete function only, it got rid of that inside cylinder face, but it left a void, a hole there. And you'll notice here it says surface bodies now. Well, in SOLIDWORKS, you can actually delete a hole like this. And notice how it's a blue edge. That's SOLIDWORKS' way of saying, hey, you got a surface that is terminating, but it's not knitted to anything else. So what I can actually do is this. One of them is I could simply click on this edge here and push delete. SOLIDWORKS will pop up and it'll say, hey, do you want to delete holes or delete features? Well, in this scenario, delete holes. Say okay to that. Fun, just like that. It's a simple feature called delete hole. And if I look on the other side, oh shoot, it still has a hole there. Let me show you here. If you come up to your surfaces command tab again, move towards the right, you'll see delete hole. Simply click on that and you'll come over here. You simply click on that circle, right click, and we are done. Just like that. You came in and now we don't have any holes on this side, but I do still have surface bodies here. So it's not solid yet. Now that delete hole function, I did that on purpose because there are times when you might import geometry and that geometry might have a hole in there and you're like, shoot, I need to get rid of this thing, but I don't know how. Okay, so especially if you're working with imported surface bodies, that's how you would go about that. But let's go ahead and come back in here and I'm going to delete all this stuff here and say yes to that. So I want to delete this hole, but I only want to use one feature. I don't want to have to come in and do delete hole after the fact. If I come in and say delete face, watch what happens if I say delete and fill. If I click on this guy, let's see what happens. If I say okay to that, oh, delete that face and didn't do anything. Okay, well let's come back in here and edit this. So delete and fill, you know, I was thinking, hey, fill, yeah, it's gonna fill in that hole, it's not gonna be there. Well, sorry, it doesn't work that way. Well, the one that you wanna use is delete and patch. Now watch. Done. So SOLIDWORKS will come in with that one feature, it'll delete that surface by that cylindrical surface, and it'll fill in those holes for me as well. Okay, so one thing that we are missing here is I said, hey, I needed to make it so that that fillet that was on this side, not be 1/4 of an inch, I need it to be 1/2 of an inch. And I need it to show up on this side now. So I'm gonna have that edge pre-selected, come up here to fillet, and we're gonna make it so it's 1/2 of an inch and say okay to that. Done. So now we have 1/2 of an inch coming on this side here. The last thing that we needed to modify on here was that I needed this leg here to be the same thickness as this leg over here. I'm going to come up to evaluate here and activate the measure command. With measure command activated, I'm going to click on these two faces. It tells me that this is 1/4 of an inch and this side is 1/2 of an inch. So SOLIDWORKS has a really cool tool called move face. So I'm going to start typing in the word move again. And I'm going to click on move face. SOLIDWORKS will have 3 ways you can work on moving this face. You can say offset, translate, or rotate. In this scenario, I want to offset. I want to offset 1/4 of an inch. So that way it adds 1/4 of an inch material to make it so it's 1/2 of an inch. So from here, I'm going to click on that face. We're going to say be 1/4 of an inch there and click the green check mark. Done. So now we have completed our redesign of this imported geometry. Like I said, little secret, you can actually manipulate imported geometry. It takes a little bit of work, but it's definitely doable. So I hope you learned something new in regards to that. Now, before we sign off, please click that like button. If you are enjoying these videos that we're posting for you, click that like button. Also subscribe to the Valley CAD YouTube channel. We are posting new content every week for you. Also, if you want to see your coffee mug show up on a future Take a Break with Valley CAD, send it to us. We'll be happy to show that up on our future Take a Breaks with Valley CAD, and you might see your coffee mug or your company's coffee mug on there. Okay? So have a great rest of the day and make sure you learn something new.